Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are doing a deep dive into a new and, frankly, kind of unsettling corner of the digital economy.
Hmm.
We're looking at the commercialization of personal grievance. I mean, we've found a company that promises to deliver something that, a lot of people feel the traditional justice system just denies them.
Right. Swift, personalized accountability
Yeah,
for the person who harmed them.
exactly.
It's this intersection where private pain meets public performance. It's a fascinating space. We're looking at a service that formalizes public exposure,
Yeah.
but not as, journalism or some kind of legal action. It's a commercial transaction. It's designed to get a measurable outcome.
And that's the key.
It really represents maybe a paradigm shift in how we seek resolution in this digital age.
So the source material we have is this absolutely striking landing page for a company called SMS Novel Films.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for their flagship service, which they have provocatively titled the Who Hurt You Expose Documentary Offering.
Can't get more direct than that.
You really can't. It's a goldmine for understanding how these incredibly complex emotional needs are being, packaged, priced, and then produced as scalable digital content.
So our mission, really, for you, the learner, is to quickly grasp the full scope of this business. We need to dissect the mechanism.
Right.
How can a company promise professional accountability so cheaply and so quickly?
Yeah.
We need to understand the vast market they're targeting.
And maybe most critically, the technical side of it, the infrastructure, because it's sort of hidden in plain sight, right?
Exactly. Hidden in the navigation links is a very clear connection to some heavy-duty AI technology, and that, we think, is the engine powering this entire model.
So this isn't just about making a 30-minute film. It's about recognizing the birth of an entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I think the core tension we have to address right from the start is this blending of really high-stakes, emotionally charged goals like, they literally say, reconciliation and restitution, with a highly efficient, almost high-volume production process.
It's digital justice on demand. And that efficiency, that's what raises all the profound questions.
Right.
The ability to produce these personalized, narrative-driven pressure tools at scale is what makes SMS novels so noteworthy.
They're trying to shortcut the system.
They are. They're trying to shortcut the often slow, often disappointing processes of law and maybe even therapy.
And they do it by applying the lever of public reputation damage.
Exactly. So let's start by analyzing exactly who they're trying to reach with that incredibly powerful forward question.
Who hurt you? I mean, it's as a piece of marketing, it's just genius.
It is.
It's so direct, it's emotionally validating, and it just immediately bypasses any need for legalistic or objective framing.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks directly to the core pain point of feeling unheard and, I guess, unavenged.
And it's so effective, I think, because the target audience often feels that traditional institutions, whether that's, a workplace HR department, the family court system, or even the police, they feel those institutions force them to suppress that emotional truth.
So this service comes in and it validates the client's internal raw narrative right away.
Instantly. They're positioning themselves as the ally, the one who cares about the injustice in the way the formal system often fails to.
And the power of that hook is just immediately reinforced by this list they have. A list of specific grievances they claim to address.
Which creates the sense that this is a universal solution.
A universal balm for any unresolved conflict. And they cover two very different categories of harm.
That segmentation is highly strategic. It shows they really understand where accountability so often breaks down completely.
So let's start with the first category, the personal and intimate harms they list. Abuser, cheating partner, and bullying.
These are issues that, almost exclusively fall outside the scope of any formal, actionable legal remedies.
Right. Think about the average experience of these harms. If someone cheats on you, what's the legal remedy? Outside of divorce proceedings, there is none.
Zero. And if you're bullied, whether you're a student or an adult employee, the institutional response is often so weak, it's administrative, or it's just flat out ignored.
And with abuse cases, especially those involving emotional or long-term financial control, they're often just too traumatic, too complex, or they lack the kind of physical evidence you need to navigate the excruciatingly slow criminal justice system.
So SMS Novel is stepping directly into that vacuum. A vacuum of accountability created by the shortcomings of our social and legal institutions.
They're offering a public narrative as a tool of enforcement where traditional conflict resolution has just failed or isn't even available.
It's substituting social judgment for judicial or administrative review.
Right.
A public trial, in a way.
And this is where I think the personal history of the company's founder becomes really, really relevant to understanding the whole ethos of the service.
Jomo K. Johnson.
Right, a former Black Lives Matter advocate. So he's keenly aware of how formal systems of justice often fail marginalized individuals or, people who just lack substantial resources.
This is where it gets really interesting, because you have a founder with a background in social advocacy, in civil rights, who deeply understands the need for collective action and public exposure to challenge entrenched power.
And now he's commercializing that very mechanism.
Exactly. Johnson's background suggests a fundamental understanding that visibility and narrative control are incredibly powerful tools for the disempowered.
So he's essentially taking the tactics of social justice, using a public narrative to demand change, and he's packaging it into a scalable consumer product.
This isn't just some random entrepreneur. This is someone translating a philosophy of activist accountability into a business model.
Let's just consider the depth of the pain they are tapping into here. When a relationship dissolves because of infidelity or abuse, the victim loses so much. Their relationship, their trust, often their peace of mind.
And what they're really seeking is acknowledgement, closure.
This service promises to deliver that acknowledgement publicly, forcing the other party to confront the reality of what they did, even if it's just through the lens of public shaming.
And that public framing is the critical difference. A therapist or a friend might offer you private validation, but this
is different.
The expose offers global, measurable validation. In the form of likes, views, news coverage, it transforms a private experience into a public truth. It gives the victim the agency they lacked when they were suffering in silence.
But the scope broadens so significantly when we look at that other list of harms. Defrauders, unjust termination, and unjust arrest.
This shifts us completely from intimate personal conflicts to systemic white-collar or bureaucratic abuses.
And that dramatically expands their market, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now they're targeting individuals who often spend years battling powerful, well-resourced institutions or, complex financial criminals.
Take the person fighting an unjust termination. They might have a really strong case, but the company knows they can just delay litigation for years.
And often force a settlement that includes an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement.
And for anyone listening who might not be familiar with that legal jargon, an NDA means that even if you, the employee, get a settlement check, you are legally barred from ever speaking publicly about the injustice you experienced.
You get the money, but you lose your voice. And the public never knows that this wrong occurred.
A documentary completely flips that script.
It's preemptive leverage. It basically says, we will make sure the public knows what happened before you can force silence with the settlement.
Or think of a small-scale defrauder. Law enforcement is so often overwhelmed, they prioritize these huge multi-million-dollar schemes.
Right. So getting justice for a few $1,000s of theft or deceit can feel absolutely impossible.
So SMS Novel steps in, implying they can produce a highly persuasive 30-minute film, complete with data visualization and a clear narrative structure.
That cuts through all that bureaucratic inertia and forces the defrauders to pay up or face public ruin.
By strategically lumping together these really disparate harms, the deeply personal betrayal and the complex systemic injustice, they create a single powerful brand.
It's for anyone seeking agency in a situation where they feel powerless. It's an appeal to the universal experience of feeling wronged by a system or an individual who just got away with it.
And their ultimate net is that catch-all phrase they use.
Or anyone who has hurt you and not been held accountable.
It's just an open invitation to anyone with an unresolved grievance, regardless of its legal standing.
This suggests the service is fundamentally about providing finality. It converts a question mark into a definitive public statement. The marketing strategy here is just brilliant in its breadth. It recognizes that the emotional need for accountability transcends all these legal categories.
Okay, so if the grievance is the catalyst, let's focus on the stated goals. The company promises reconciliation and/or restitution.
The and/or.
Right. That dual nature is the source of some significant ethical and, I think, practical tension. How often are those two goals truly compatible when you're mediating them through public shaming?
The and/or is the safety mechanism, as we noted, but we have to dig deeper into that tension. Let's really distinguish the two possible results. Restitution is tangible. It's financial compensation, the return of stolen property, maybe a job reinstatement, or an enforceable promise of change.
It's quantifiable.
Exactly. And a public expose is an excellent tool for achieving it. Public pressure equals reputation damage, which translates directly into financial cost, forcing the accused to pay to stop the damage.
So they're essentially using the film as a weaponized narrative to force a payout or compliance.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of maintaining silence or, mitigating the reputational harm becomes higher than the cost of just resolving the client's original grievance.
Exactly right. However, reconciliation is entirely different.
It's relational.
It's relational repair, mutual understanding, emotional closure. It implies a path forward, even if the relationship isn't restored.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you genuinely reconcile with someone immediately after you've publicly exposed their deepest flaws in a 30-minute film?
The act of exposure itself is inherently antagonistic.
It is.
It sounds a bit like they're leveraging the language of therapeutic resolution to sanitize what is, at its core, an exercise in public pressure and shaming.
I think that's a fair assessment. The company is framing the documentary not merely as revenge, but as a path toward a meaningful, tangible resolution.
It's the language of ethical packaging.
Yes. By including reconciliation, they give the client moral cover. I'm not just seeking vengeance, I am seeking to repair this situation.
But realistically, the public shaming that's necessary to achieve the leverage for restitution, that almost certainly obliterates any chance of genuine relational reconciliation.
The one exception might be a simple public apology that satisfies the victim's need for acknowledgement, and that can sometimes be mistaken for reconciliation.
The genius of the model, though, from a pure business standpoint, is that they promise this wide target of outcomes.
Right.
If the subject of the documentary pays money, it's restitution. Success. If the subject is shamed enough to offer a profound apology or simply stops harassing the client, that can be framed as a form of reconciliation. Also success.
They manage expectations perfectly by covering both the transactional, the money, and the emotional, the closure.
And this all just plays right back into the background of the founder.
Mm-hmm.
If you view this through the lens of social justice activism, where public exposure and narrative control are the mechanism, then restitution is the transactional goal, and reconciliation in the form of forcing the acknowledgement of harm is the relational goal.
It's a complete activist framework just applied to personal conflicts.
Okay, but we need to talk about something that just completely changes the game here. There's one more stunning layer to this section.
The price.
The price. The surprisingly low barrier to entry. We've managed to discover that the cost for this entire process, the professional production, the scripting, the AI usage, the distribution strategy, is $50.
$50.
Yeah.
That is utterly transformative, and it's impossible to sustain through any traditional documentary production methods.
Absolutely. A traditional, professional 30-minute film with research, interviews, editing, distribution, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. At least.
Oh, easily, if not more. So that $50 price tag, it fundamentally changes the conversation.
It means this service is not aimed at wealthy clients.
Not at all.
It's aimed at the masses, people who might otherwise never be able to afford a lawyer, let alone a documentary filmmaker.
It makes the service incredibly accessible. It democratizes the tool of public narrative leverage.
And that low price confirms one thing with absolute certainty.
The core engine of this operation must be highly automated and scaled.
Which brings us squarely to the technology implied by the other links on their website. The efficiency required to turn $50 into a professional, distributed 30-minute film is the true innovation here.
It has to.
So let's move to the product itself, the 30-minute expose. It's not just the price that's specific, it's the runtime. Why 30 minutes? Is this purely about, digital attention spans, or is there a structural reason for it?
Synthesis of both, I think. 30 minutes is a standard format that signals credibility.
Okay.
It's not a 5-minute, hastily produced YouTube rant. It's long enough to feel like a serious production. It echoes the structure of investigative TV journalism or a documentary short.
But for the digital age, it's still manageable.
Crucially, it strikes the optimal balance between depth and viewer commitment.
It gives them enough runway to establish the protagonist, the victim, the antagonist, the accused.
Present the evidence, build the emotional tension, and deliver a definitive conclusion.
All without demanding the audience commit their entire evening. It's the highest quality narrative they can produce at the fastest possible speed.
And, the need to structure a complex narrative, whether it's a financial fraud case with multiple transactions or an account of long-term emotional abuse, into a tight, persuasive 30-minute arc requires aggressive editorial control.
This is not just rambling testimony.
No, it demands a highly efficient, maybe even a templated script structure.
And that inherent structural constraint, the need for speed and clarity, that's the first real indication that automation isn't just helpful here, it's essential to their entire process.
It is. A human screenwriter trying to digest complex evidence and turn it into a high-impact 30-minute script for $50 would be impossible.
It's really impossible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The structural challenge of the 30-minute format, that compression of complex truth into consumable content, can only be met by leveraging something like a large language model, an LLM, to handle the initial evidence analysis and script outline generation.
That's the bridge.
It's the bridge between the overwhelming grievance data that the client provides and the polished final product.
So how do customers even initiate this seemingly impossible service? The primary mechanism is calling an 800 number for a free consultation.
That consultation is the linchpin of the whole thing. They are not accepting every story for $50.
No way.
That call is a triple function filter. First, it's a scoping mechanism, just understanding the nature and the scale of the harm.
Second, and this has to be the most vital part, is the evidence vetting.
Mm-hmm.
Does the client have emails, texts, bank records, witnesses? For the documentary to serve as leverage, it must be credible.
If the documentary is deemed flimsy, it loses all its power to compel restitution. And worse, it risks being dismissed as defamation, which would really harm SMS Novel's reputation.
So they're mitigating their legal and business risk by ensuring the story is defensible, that it's supported by a corpus of evidence that can withstand public scrutiny.
Precisely. And third, the consultation assesses feasibility. Can the accused party be located? And do they possess the financial means or the kind of reputation necessary to make them susceptible to the pressure of an expose?
Right. If the accused is, say, bankrupt or totally anonymous, the service can't deliver on the promise of restitution.
So that vetting process is essentially the human layer ensuring the AI production engine is fed high-quality, actionable source material.
And we absolutely must emphasize the clear note on accessibility here. Se habla español. Right, and this is not a throwaway detail. Not at all. If you're part of a marginalized community, maybe an immigrant, and you've suffered from something like wage theft or an unjust arrest, navigating the U.S. legal system is incredibly daunting.
Just finding an attorney who speaks your language and specializes in your specific niche is expensive and so time-consuming.
So offering this digital remedy in Spanish immediately captures a demographic that is disproportionately affected by labor abuses and financial fraud, and often feels completely excluded by the established accountability mechanisms.
Yeah, and again, the founder's activist background is really visible here. It's about providing an accessible tool to populations that have been historically underserved by expensive professional services.
Okay, so let's move to enforcement. The strategic core of their distribution plan, they say it now includes optional local news coverage. This is the lever that turns a personal project into a genuine threat.
This is a huge strategic add-on. A professionally produced 30-minute film can exist quietly on YouTube forever.
And no one might see it.
Right. But if SMS Novel facilitates getting that story pitched and then picked up by a local news affiliate, a TV station, or a major local paper, it transforms the entire thing into an institutional validation.
Why is local news so powerful in this specific context? What's the magic there?
It's the multiplier effect. Local news reaches an older, often more established and influential demographic. If the accused is a local business owner, an ex-partner who works at a respectable company, or a low-level public official,
their reputation within their community is everything.
It's paramount. Among their neighbors, their professional peers, their clients.
The digital realm might only shame them among younger, tech-savvy audiences, but the local evening news, that hits them where they live and where they do business.
It applies pressure from established community stakeholders, making the issue absolutely impossible to ignore.
This suggests SMS Novel isn't just a team of filmmakers. They have to have some internal expertise in media relations.
They have to. They know how to take the core narrative of the expose and shape it into a pitch that local news outlets, which, constantly need compelling, localized drama, will pick up.
So they're selling the whole package: content creation and distribution leverage.
The ultimate goal is forcing compliance, and local news coverage is the fastest way to inflict enough reputational damage to compel the accused party to negotiate for that restitution or reconciliation.
The cost of the scandal just gets amplified tenfold.
Right. If the accused party is looking at losing clients, or facing community ostracization because of a local news report that's based on the expose, settling the original grievance for, say, $50,000 might look like a bargain compared to the long-term damage.
So finally, let's look at the purely digital distribution strategy. They mention TikTok, and they also mention SMS novel interactive films.
This is the dual prong. TikTok signifies their intent for virality, for reaching the massive audience that consumes accountability and, true crime-style content so rapidly.
It ensures maximum reach among the digitally native audience.
Right.
But what exactly are SMS novel interactive films? This suggests the content is designed for user engagement that goes beyond just simple watching.
Interactive films are cutting edge. It implies the 30-minute documentary isn't just a linear video. It might incorporate something like branching narratives,
where the viewer clicks to explore specific pieces of evidence.
Exactly. Or integrated calls to action. For example, a click here to review the forged document, or even more powerfully, click here to send a pre-drafted letter to the accused's employer.
So the audience is actively being weaponized.
Yes.
The viewing experience is transformed into a participatory pressure campaign. It turns the passive viewer into an active participant in achieving this digital justice.
It's extremely sophisticated. The distribution strategy blends the highest leverage traditional media, which is local news, with the most virally explosive digital platforms, TikTok, and these interactive films.
This ensures the content travels far, reaches influential community members, and converts viewers into activists for the client's cause,
maximizing the pressure necessary to force a resolution.
So now we come to the engine room. The expose documentary is the polished front end, but the navigation links on the site reveal this sprawling, diversified infrastructure that's supporting the entire operation.
This is where we uncover the secret sauce, the thing that allows them to produce professional films for $50.
We can't view the expose service in isolation.
No. The other listed services, SMS for churches, ChatGPT-Me, and StoryAsia AI, they tell us that this is a scalable content creation and messaging infrastructure company that has found a highly lucrative niche in grievance resolution.
Let's jump straight into the technical proof then, the AI connection. Specifically, ChatGPT-Me and StoryAsia AI. These aren't just abstract concepts. These are products they are explicitly selling or utilizing.
These links are the strongest evidence we have that AI is not just peripheral here, but foundational to the whole thing. ChatGPT-Me is a direct proprietary reference to the architecture of large language models, LLMs, like the GPT series.
So for our listener, an LLM is a type of artificial intelligence that's trained on vast amounts of text data.
Right, which allows it to understand, summarize, translate, and generate human-like text at incredible speed.
So what does a company that makes 30-minute exposés need an LLM engine for? We've already established that the structure has to be tight and efficient.
Well, the applications for an operation that's churning out $50 documentaries are vast. And they're primarily focused on drastically cutting down human labor time.
Okay, like what?
First, massive evidence ingestion and summarization. Imagine a client uploads hundreds of pages of texts, emails, or financial documents detailing a fraud case. An LLM can instantly read, analyze, and tag that entire corpus. It can identify contradictions, pull out key quotes, and summarize the narrative arc of the conflict.
A human researcher might spend a week on that task.
At least.
Yeah.
The AI does it in 5 minutes. That's how you get to the $50 price point. It's a massive time savings, and that's what makes the business scalable.
So second would be drafting the script.
Drafting the persuasive script. Exactly. Once the evidence is summarized, the LLM can generate the initial script draft. It can be prompted with something like, generate a 30-minute documentary script outline focusing on the unjust termination of the client, highlighting evidence of discrimination, and building towards a call for restitution.
So the AI is providing the narrative structure that's optimized for impact, and it ensures that tight 30-minute format is achieved without the cost of a highly paid screenwriter.
And it also helps standardize the quality. It ensures every film, despite the personal nature of the grievance, meets the company's professional standard.
And a third use.
Channel optimization. The LLM can generate 3 versions of the same core narrative. The full 30-minute script, a 90-second voiceover script that's optimized for a local news pitch.
And then punchy, emotionally resonant text for the TikTok and social media campaign.
It ensures narrative consistency across all the different distribution channels.
Okay, now let's turn to the other proprietary technology they list, StoryAsia AI. If ChatGPT-Me handles the text and the narrative, what does StoryAsia AI contribute to the actual visuals and production of a documentary?
This is where the service moves beyond simple text generation and into the most ethically sensitive territory, especially based on the additional information we have, which is the ability to generate visuals, potentially including the person who did you wrong.
Storyacia AI is likely their specialized suite of production tools.
It has to be.
So if the client doesn't have good video evidence of the accused defrauder, how does a $50 documentary fill that visual gap?
This is the power of modern generative AI. Storyacia AI could handle a few things. First, AI-generated voice and narration.
Okay.
Using AI voices for narration tracks or even synthesizing voices for interviews if the client has transcripts but no audio. This eliminates the need for expensive studio time and professional voice artists.
Number 2.
Data visualization. This is crucial for financial or bureaucratic exposés. The AI can take spreadsheet data, the fraud records, the pay slips, and instantly convert them into clean, professional, moving graphics and timelines suitable for a documentary. It visualizes the complexity in a digestible format.
And the third and most concerning aspect.
Generative visuals of the accused. If the client only provides a photo of the cheating partner or abuser, this specialized AI could potentially use generative video technology to create B-roll footage or stylized, non-live-action depictions of the accused.
Or even illustrative scenes of the offense taking place, all based on the client's narrative.
Exactly.
Wait, let's be very, very clear about the implications of that. You are saying that for $50, a person can submit a grievance and a picture, and an AI can create persuasive, professional-looking visual content that depicts the person who wronged them.
Potentially in a very negative light.
Without requiring the accused person's consent or any actual footage of them.
Precisely. It is transforming narrative claims into visual evidence. This bypasses one of the biggest challenges in documentary filmmaking, securing usable, corroborating video footage.
If they're using this capability, it is the ultimate scaling tool. It makes every documentary visually compelling.
But it also elevates the ethical risk to an exponential degree. The line between evidence and fabricated illustration becomes extremely thin.
This technology allows them to deliver the maximum psychological impact, seeing the accused depicted in the context of their offense for minimum production cost. It transforms a text-based grievance into a powerful, visually immediate threat.
And again, the founder's background leveraging narrative for public accountability makes this technological investment totally logical. They're using AI to give marginalized people the same visual and narrative ammunition that expensive PR firms or major news organizations once held exclusively.
Let's look at the remaining pieces of this ecosystem then. We see SMS for churches listed. How does community messaging fit into this advanced AI film production model?
This provides some crucial context about the company's origins and its expertise in localized, trusted communication.
Okay.
It suggests SMS Novel began, or at least maintains a strong focus, in the community engagement sphere, most likely text-based messaging and content distribution for faith organizations.
So they mastered the infrastructure for high-volume, personalized, and rapid community engagement, like sending out text alerts, announcements, or fundraising appeals to a really tight-knit audience.
Yes, and that exact infrastructure and expertise in generating content that is persuasive and ensures high open rates and engagement within a targeted community is now being repurposed for the expose service.
The same tools that send a message about a Sunday service are now distributing an interactive film about a local defrauder.
They are masters of content delivery to specific leveraged audiences.
And the other services, free services and testimonials, those are just standard marketing anchors, right?
Absolutely. The testimonials are crucial because this service is highly non-traditional and it carries reputational risk for both the client and the company.
The client needs social proof.
They need social proof that paying $50 for this aggressive form of digital justice actually yields the promised reconciliation or restitution.
And the free services.
They likely serve as a low-barrier lead magnet, pulling people into the ecosystem where they can then be upsold to the $50 expose service once their evidence is vetted.
So let's synthesize the grand business model. SMS Novel is a technological fortress that blends grievance resolution and narrative creation, powered by advanced AI LLMs for scripting and specialized AI for rapid visual production and data visualization.
All built on an efficient community engagement infrastructure.
It's a complete solution for conflict resolution optimized for the digital age.
It is. It leverages the founder's insight that public narrative is the most powerful tool for accountability and utilizes rapidly advancing technology to scale what used to be prohibitively expensive, personalized, professional documentary filmmaking.
They are turning the intense emotional experience of personal injustice into a highly repeatable, monetizable, digitally distributed product.
And delivered at a price point that completely undercuts traditional legal services.
The $50 price tag, the 30-minute format, the local news coverage, and the reliance on AI for both scripting and potentially video generation, it all points to a highly engineered, efficient factory for generating personalized leverage.
And the output is a highly polished product designed explicitly to inflict maximum reputational pain to force a reaction from the accused party.
And we have to remember that C. Habla Espinal accessibility, the founder's activist background, and the $50 price confirm this is a service aimed at democratizing this powerful tool.
It's making digital justice accessible to the many, not just the wealthy. They are capitalizing on the hunger for accountability where traditional mechanisms have proven too costly, too slow, or just too silent.
It's an extraordinary case study in how technology is disrupting the entire concept of due process and legal redress, transforming it into a consumer product based on narrative and public pressure.
The speed, the low cost, and the aggressive distribution strategy make this service a true disruptor. They are not waiting for the courts or for journalists. They are creating their own system of immediate, high-impact digital justice.
This has been a true deep dive into the architecture of modern accountability. Let's quickly summarize the critical takeaways for you, the learner.
First, the expose documentary targets specific, unresolved personal harms. Everything from intimate betrayal to unjust professional termination. And by addressing this broad, unmet need, they've carved out a vast, lucrative market niche where traditional systems fail to provide closure.
Second, the company defines success explicitly as achieving reconciliation or restitution. The film, which only costs $50, is explicitly designed as a tool of powerful leverage. It aims to generate sufficient public pressure, especially via that highly strategic add-on of optional local news coverage, to force a tangible outcome from the accused.
And finally, the entire business model is predicated on an advanced AI infrastructure. The presence of ChatGPT and StoryAsia AI suggests a scalable content factory. They're utilizing large language models for rapid scripting and specialized AI for producing professional visuals, data visualization, and potentially even controversial generative depictions of the accused.
Transforming raw evidence into polished, persuasive, high-impact content with just unprecedented efficiency. It's a company that is successfully optimized for speed, impact, and reach,
Right.
making narrative leverage accessible to anyone with a valid grievance and $50.
They are betting that digital visibility and public pressure will always move faster and often more powerfully than the traditional legal system.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. If technology, leveraging AI, can now efficiently create personalized, high-impact exposés designed explicitly to compel restitution through public shaming, how should society and how should our traditional legal structures respond to that? Does this emerging, efficient system of digital justice offered at the price of a takeout meal fundamentally undermine or perhaps offer a necessary democratized alternative to the often slow, expensive, and exclusive paths to accountability we rely on today?